Have you ever stopped to think about what the oldest construction in the world is? Or which human-made object will last the longest in the universe? Today, we'll explore incredible mysteries hidden beneath the Earth's surface and even scattered across outer space. Discover how a hill in Turkey hid an archaeological secret for millennia that rewrites our history, and learn about footprints that will remain for millions of years. Get ready for a fascinating journey that will change the way you see humanity's past and future. Stay with me, because what you're about to uncover here is simply mind-blowing. The photo you're seeing now might not seem extraordinary. It's just a hill, maybe a rural area. But beneath this ground, one of archaeology's most fascinating discoveries was waiting to be revealed. This mound, located in Turkey, was known by locals as a sacred place. In 1963, during an archaeological survey, some stone tools were found in the region, dating back about 10,000 years. For a long time, that was it. The sacred hill was left in peace, and modern civilization carried on, unaware of what lay below. But in 1994, 31 years after the initial find, archaeologists returned to conduct a more in-depth exploration. Excavations began, and for the first time in millennia, the world caught a glimpse of what is still considered the oldest human construction, Göbekli Tepe. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when it was built, but all signs indicate it's around 10,000 years old. The stone pillars in the innermost areas have animal carvings, offering a rare view of the art and culture from that period. We still don't know for sure if agriculture led humans to abandon hunting and gathering, or if our ancestors began practicing agriculture after abandoning this way of life. Therefore, we can't definitively say if Göbekli Tepe was inhabited or if it was a kind of ancient temple visited at specific times of the year. Regardless, it remains the oldest known structure, predating Stonehenge and the great Egyptian pyramids by at least 7,000 years. This discovery led me to ponder something, almost as if it's the opposite side of our curiosity for ancient things. What is the longest lasting human-made object? This question brings a certain unease, almost an existential crisis. By asking which human-made object will last the longest, we assume that humanity will one day cease to exist. That's kind of obvious, actually. Every civilization begins, flourishes, reaches its peak, and eventually ends for some reason. Some just fade away, leaving ruins of what was once grand, while others are absorbed and become part of more modern civilizations. The truth is that one day, even we will be ruins that could be discovered by someone in the future. Thinking otherwise is almost naive. With that in mind, where can we look for humanity's oldest creations? Let's start with Egypt, specifically where the Great Pyramids were built. I'm choosing the Great Pyramid of Giza as an example, because it's the oldest of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It took 27 years to build, and at nearly 5,000 years old, it was the tallest human-made structure for over 3,800 of those years. Another reason for choosing a pyramid is that it's practically intact. I say practically because it has suffered some damage over time. When it was built, its outer surface was covered with limestone, giving it an even more impressive appearance. Originally, it stood at 146 meters tall. Over time, this outer limestone layer was removed, reducing the pyramid's height by about 8 meters. What we see today is its innermost structure. I think the Great Pyramid is the perfect starting point because, unlike Göbekli Tepe, it didn't need to be excavated. It's been on the surface this whole time, coexisting with every civilization that has passed through Egypt since its construction. If we're looking for the longest lasting human-made object, the Great Pyramid is a fantastic place to start. It still stands tall and solid, nearly 5,000 years after it was built. But how much longer will it last? Giving a realistic timeline is difficult. The best we can do is estimate. We can confidently say that the Great Pyramid will still be here long after everyone alive today is gone, but that doesn't help much. The Egyptians who built the pyramid were highly ingenious. They identified structural issues in the earlier pyramids and found ways to avoid these problems in subsequent ones. They truly wanted these pyramids to withstand the test of time and did everything possible to ensure they would remain standing. For this reason, along with the geographic conditions of the site, the Great Pyramid likely has up to 1 million years ahead of it. This is literally a geological timescale, a period of existence beyond human comprehension. But even the Great Pyramids can't endure on much larger scales. The Earth is dynamic. The soil, terrain, and geography are constantly changing. These changes are too slow to notice in our lifetime, but fast in geological terms. The oldest continuously exposed surface on our planet is in the Negev Desert, and it's only 1.8 million years old. The Himalayas, the famous mountain range that includes Mount Everest, formed after the dinosaurs went extinct just 40 million years ago. So, when the world's tallest mountain formed, dinosaurs had already been gone for 25 million years. No pyramid could survive the geological processes that shape our planet. In fact, no human construction could, unless... Now things get interesting. No human-made structure on the planet's surface today can last much longer, which is a little sad. But the good news is, as an incredibly intelligent species, we don't have to limit ourselves to Earth. Why not look to space? Humans landed on the moon for the first time in 1969, leaving something that will last far longer than the pyramids of Egypt: footprints. I know it sounds crazy. How could a footprint last longer than a pyramid? But the conditions on the moon are vastly different from those on Earth. The moon has an extremely thin atmosphere, practically none, and the moon has no tectonic activity, one of the main causes of geological changes on Earth. Some craters on the moon, like this one on the lunar South Pole, are over 4 billion years old. Earth has also been hit by objects throughout its history, and one possible explanation for the moon's origin is a collision with a planet. But today we hardly see traces of that. The moon, however, tells a different story. There's erosion, but it's caused by micrometeorite impacts at high speeds, a very slow erosion rate, about 1 millimeter every million years. So, footprints on the moon will remain marking the surface of our natural satellite for up to 100 million years. And speaking of satellites, in 1957, the first artificial satellite was launched into Earth's orbit, Sputnik 1. It wasn't meant to be permanent. It was designed to provide information about the Earth's upper atmosphere. That's why it still faced resistance from the few molecules of air 200 kilometers up. 3 months later, it burned up upon re-entry. I chose Sputnik 1 as an example, though it didn't last long, to clarify that satellites don't stay in space forever. The International Space Station itself regularly needs its orbit adjusted to avoid falling back to Earth, a somewhat unsettling thought for the astronauts on board. But this doesn't happen with geostationary satellites. A geostationary satellite orbits very high, far from any atmospheric effects. When these satellites finish their useful life, they're moved to an even higher orbit, known as a graveyard orbit, to avoid interfering with new satellites. And once in these orbits, they'll stay there indefinitely, at least in human terms. That is, unless we consider that someday our sun will become a red giant, likely engulfing Earth along with all the geostationary satellites and everything we left on the moon. Our star is actually about halfway through its lifespan, with roughly 5 billion years left. Even if we were to create something that could last that long, as geostationary satellites likely would, it would still be destroyed in the same process that will one day destroy Earth. But not all hope is lost. What if I told you that we've already created something that will last far longer than all that? In fact, It's already beyond the solar system. I'm talking about the two Voyager probes. These will outlast everything mentioned in this video, and much more. Both Voyager probes were launched in 1977, and if we were to consider their expected lifespan as a percentage, they've technically lived 0% of it. Seriously. Sadly, they'll run out of battery in just a few years, and we'll lose contact with them. But the probe's physical structures still have trillions of years left, and that's an incomprehensibly long time. These two probes are literally the longest-lasting objects humanity has ever created. To give you an idea, our galaxy will begin to merge with the Andromeda galaxy in about 4 billion years, and the Voyager probes will endure trillions of times longer than that. Some of you might wonder if they could collide with something, like a planet or a star, on their journey. The answer is that it's more likely they'll be ejected from our galaxy rather than colliding with anything. When talking about space, we have to remember just how much space there is out there. The universe is vast, and the distances are monumental. Even if you aim at a galaxy and travel through it, the chance of colliding with anything is almost zero. During the collision between the Milky Way and Andromeda, which together contain billions of stars, the chance of two individual stars colliding is extraordinarily low. The greatest threat to the Voyager's longevity is interstellar dust. Small grains of dust can damage the structure of the probes, and accumulated over billions of years could eventually destroy them. Their lifetime will depend on the path they take through the galaxy. If they pass through regions dense with gas and dust, their lifespan could be shortened, but the most likely scenario is that at least one will be ejected from the galaxy during the collision. If that happens, Voyager will drift alone through the near-total void of the universe for trillions of years. It will continue to exist long after the last stars have burned out, witnessing the universe's evolution, the birth and death of the last stars, and the transformation of all galaxies into black hole galaxies.